Hi, this is Sarah with Tenderfoot Village, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute little witch gnome. A list of the supplies that I used for this tutorial can be found in the description box below. Today I'm going to be using the smaller size pool noodle, but I will explain how to use the larger pool noodle as we move along. For example, if you're going to use the large pool noodle for this tutorial, you'll want the large hair rollers and the medium-sized foam hair rollers. I'm going to begin by wrapping the pool noodle with black felt, and I've already attached the half of a styrofoam ball. If you'd like to see how this is done, you can watch the Scarecrow or the Unicorn Gnome video tutorial, and it will show you step by step how I attach that. So here I'm just applying hot glue and attaching the felt, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. Now I'm going to hot glue a large nut inside the middle of the tube. It will fit in there perfectly, and this is to help add some weight. Now I'm going to cut out a small circle roughly the size of the bottom of my pool noodle, and I'm doing this to kind of disguise the nut that you can see and just finish off that body. So this next part, you only have to do this if you're using the small pool noodle. I am taking the smallest hair rollers that you can get at Dollar Tree, and I'm trying to figure out what size I want. So I figured out the length of the arms that I'd like, and now I'm just going to cut them down, and I'm going to snip off a part of the wire and remove it, and then re-bend the wire and re-add the little cap back on to create a smaller version of that foam roller. And again, this is only necessary if you are using the smaller pool noodle. If you're using the large or jumbo, then the medium size foam rollers are perfect length and size, so this is not necessary with them. Now I'm going to take the medium size rollers and remove the wire completely, and you'll do this for either the medium or large rollers. And now I'm just twisting in that wooden dowel, and I'm not going all the way in, I'm leaving a little bit of space on the end, and then once I've got them even, I'm going to flip them over and cut that extra piece off, and then once I've cut that, I'm going to cut an additional little bit at the very end. And the reason that I'm doing this is I want those wood pieces to fit down into the nuts that I put inside of the baby shoes. Now I'm going to take this pair of Halloween legs that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm cutting them off at both ends. And then I'm going to turn them and cut them up the seam, and then cut and remove the seam. I want to use these for the sleeves and leggings of my gnome. So removing the seam is beneficial in creating a clean seam on the finished product. Now I want to cut my material, and I'm trying to cut it fairly evenly for both the arms and the legs. I'm just using my foam rollers as a measuring tool, and then I'm going to glue all of them . You'll notice on the two parts that I'm using for the sleeves, I'm kind of creating a seam by folding over a little bit of the material and hot gluing it. This to me just creates, again, a more finished look. But I'm not doing that on the legs because they're a little less visible and I don't feel like the effect is needed. Now we're ready to start on the shoes, and this is probably one of my favorite parts of this gnome. So I'm just wrapping it like I normally would around with the felt, and then once I do that, I'm going to turn the front part of the shoe and pinch it, and then with it pinched, I'm going to snip at an angle inward, kind of down and in, to create the little pointy part of the toe of the shoe. I did create a pattern for this piece because it is a little bit kind of tedious, and that pattern is available in my Etsy shop. Just look for the Witch Gnome pattern and tutorial. Once I have the toe part cut, I'm ready to glue down the back part of the shoe. So I just applied some hot glue and I'm folding down the back right now. I will focus on the toe last. So I'm just going all the way around and gluing the back edges. I'm checking to make sure they're even really quick, and then I'm going to stick my finger in and kind of open up that part on the toe and apply some hot glue and pinch it together and just kind of shape it a little bit. Now I'm ready to cut an opening in the base of my gnome body and apply hot glue and insert my legs. I do this using a twisting motion. It really locks the fabric with the glue into the gnome body. Now I'm ready to attach the arms. I like to put my arms evenly, but kind of a little towards the front of my gnome, not quite in the middle. And then I just apply hot glue and I'll hold them in place for a minute so that glue can set. Now I'm ready to attach my nose, and you can either use a 1-inch wooden ball or a piece of polymer clay. If you're making the larger gnome, then you want to use a larger ball. Now I'm ready to move on to the witch's hat, and I'm just tracing from my pattern that I created, and it's kind of a donut. If you'd like the pattern, I have 3 sizes that will be available: small, medium, and large, and the brim is what changes so much from the medium to the small size. But those patterns are available in my private paid group, or you can get them on Etsy. Now that I have my pieces cut out, I'm going to take my pie-shaped piece and I'm going to apply hot glue down one side and then fold it over and pinch it together. Once I've let that sit for a moment, I'm going to turn it right side out and then begin gluing the 2 pieces together. Now I'm ready to start working on the hair, and this is the yarn I'm going to be using. This is the color Houston Cream. To create the hair for this gnome, I will unravel the strands of the yarn. For this particular gnome, I'm only going to unravel them halfway. So there's 4 strands, and I'm only going to unravel them, split them in half. I'm going to loop my yarn 8 times and tie it off. I'm going to do this twice, once for the front of the hair and once for the back of the hair. Once I get the hair positioned where I like it and glued down, I'll begin untwisting those strands of yarn. Now that I have her hair all done, I'm ready to move on to the skirt. The supplies for this skirt will be listed separately in the description box below. To begin making the skirt, I'm going to start with the piece of elastic, and I'm going to apply a little strip of hot glue and fold it back on itself and allow it to dry for a moment. Now I'm positioning it on a sturdy bottle. This will help me hold it in place when I begin tying my loops. For the small gnome, I want to cut the strips in half. For the larger gnome, the strips can stay and just be folded over. So now I'm taking and grabbing it in the middle of my strip, and I'm going to tuck it through and pull down. So next I'm going to grab my tool, and I've taken a purple and a silver and put them together to help see them better. So I'm going to put those pieces together and do the same thing. I'm going to bend them in half, tuck that loop underneath, and then I'm going to bring those two ends around the front and tuck them through or pull them through. And then once I get that done, I'm going to pull down on both sides to kind of snug it against the elastic. Now I want to add a piece of ribbon, and I chose this purple sparkly ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to fold it in half as well, tuck it through, and then once I straighten it out, I'm going to snip the ends. Now I'm going to continue alternating my materials all the way around until I have the look that I want. For my particular skirt, I am using 4 pieces of the Spooky Ghost fabric, 4 pieces of the ribbon, and 8 pieces of the tulle, the mixed tulle. For the larger gnome, you'll use 5, 5, and 10. Now that I've finished tying all of my pieces for my skirt, I'm going to go around and stretch out every piece, kind of spread them out. It kind of creates a fuller, fluffier skirt. Now it's time to put on her skirt and hat and see if there's any finishing touches that I want to add. So I decided to add a little ribbon to her hat, but it's a little too thick for my liking, so I'm going to fold it in half and hot glue it. And then once I do that, I'm going to center it on her hat and glue it from front to back. So I decided to add this little pom-pom trim I got from Walmart around her ankles. I really feel like it does a good job of kind of finishing off that area, and I think it looks really cute. Okay, well that's it for my Gnome Witch tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, like and subscribe, and as always, thanks so much for watching.